Hey beautiful, welcome. Hannah here from Reality Awareness. Lovely to have you joining my live. It is the weekend, or just beginning the weekend, depending on where you are in the world. So if this is the first time to my live stream, please let me know or give me some love hearts if you love joining me live or watching the replay. And if you are watching the replay, comment below and hashtag replay. Let me know you're here. Hey Tammy. All right, hi. Okay, so I got something kind of, fun to talk about, I guess. Well, it's all fun to me because it's all life. It's all fun. All right. So, tell me, guys. Tell me who has Netflix binges, or do you feel like just need to, like, I don't watch that stuff, or I don't watch the news, or no, I don't watch TV, or I don't watch. Let me know. Let's start this by this, yeah? I'm curious. Curious how everybody feels about this in a way, yeah? Comment below and let me know. Hey Kylie, how is everyone? Yes, good question. How is everybody feeling? I know I posted yesterday, like, just so much peace. And I'm wondering if that's how everyone else is feeling, or whether that is just me. I know I posted it, but love my Netflix. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna stumble on saying Netflix 50,000 times, I'm sure. Netflix, Foxtel, yeah, any of those sorts of things. It's the only TV I get to watch. Who else? Does anybody else like it, love it, hate it? There's no judgment here. Just asking a simple question. So I've got a little bit of a story to share about this, and I'm just going to share this and be totally present with you about it. So Kylie says, two Kylies here, when I need time out away from the world, yes, I call these reality breaks, yeah? I know I spoke about these earlier in the week. On my timeline, here we go. Yeah, I know I spoke about these earlier in my week, for sure, in the week, because these reality breaks are so important, right? And when I say, like, reality breaks, it's like reality breaks in a way of, that, like, when, you know, for me personally, like, you know, doing this sort of, this is my work, this is my, you know, spiritual, like, I do this spiritual work, like, I love my job, I created this lifestyle, right, where I only have people around me who are into this stuff, like, who love and do this stuff as much as I do, right? Now, the other part of that is that because this spiritual stuff is so, it's a huge part, like, for me, and I'm just about to say, you know, like, and it's like, we need a, like, reality breaks are like coming back into reality. And I know I said this the other day, in a sense that when we do so much spiritual work and we do personal development work, it's so important to have a break. It's integration, right? It's integration week. So when we're talking about integration week, hey Kelly, talking about integration week and talking about, like, having a break, yeah, and having a reality break, like, for me, watching Netflix is a reality break because it kind of brings me back to reality, brings me back to mainstream society in a way, right? Or, of course, there's other things we can do, but specifically I want to talk about the reality of Netflix binges. I know I'm going to stumble upon that, Netflix binges. Okay, got it. The reality of Netflix binges and the gold that most people miss. Now, as you guys know, I've released the Activate Your Archangel frequency and we start on Monday. So let me post the link in the comments just so you guys have got that. If you've got questions about it, let me know. But this, like, the Activate Your Archangel frequency, I know I've shared that it's, like, come through, and Archangel Mary has been really strong, like, coming through me with that. And what I want to talk about with the Netflix binge is also got to do with that entire thing, right? Now, if you guys have been following me for a while, you'll know that I feel like I notice, and I'm noticing this pattern, if you may, that when I kind of, like, go through a stint of work and then I'm like, like, I need a reality break, right? I will find a Netflix series, and it's not like, oh, I need to, like, chill out and I need to, like, watch a Netflix series and just zone out. Like, it's not like that. It's just like, it pulls me. Yeah, it's like, I need, like, you know, and it just, like, pulls me into this space. And then I find that with the Netflix you know, like I don't go searching for something, you know, it's just kind of there when I just happen to be in there, right? Like I just see it. And anyway, this current series that I just started watching, and it's like the best already because it's so good in a sense that, you know, when you watch a series and there's like in season 1, there might be like between 8 and say 16 episodes perhaps. This one that I've stumbled across is still going on season 1, and I'm like, how many episodes is it? Like, because it got up to 20, and I'm like, what? And I'm like having a look, and there's like 60 odd in the season 1, right? And I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome, yeah. Don't tell me it's called Limitless. No, I spoke about Limitless at the end of last year. I got into Limitless, but it's not Limitless. Now, this current series that I'm watching, this Netflix thing, is, I guess, a little bit not like me in a sense because it's got subtitles. So, and I got nothing really against it. It's just that I've never been drawn to watch anything with subtitles like that before. And obviously, once I get hooked on something, I can't kind of put it down. It's a bit like a book. If I'm in a good book, I just can't put it down. I'll stay up late even though I shouldn't. Like, do you know what I mean? Like with a book or a good series. And anyway, the gold that most people miss about this is that when we do this personal development work, when we are awake, when we wake up, give me some love hearts or a big yes if you're like, you can't go back to sleep. And sometimes we wish we could go back to sleep, but you just can't, right? Once you've awakened, there's no going back to sleep. Who agrees, right? Now, in this sense, right, with this, like with the gold that most people miss, is that there is no separation between reality, non-reality, our 3D physical world, our spiritual world, spirituality, human being life, our soul, physical human life. There is just no separation. Like, there isn't. Okay? Now, the thing is that when we become spiritually awakened and we see the signs and we're like, oh, the signs are everywhere, and like sometimes that can send us into loopholes. It can send us into like down the rabbit hole, and we kind of get lost out of reality. You know what I mean? So there is this balance. You know, I talked about this on the integration live stream the other day. The expansion and the contraction is always happening all the time, and we're, you know, one way over here or one way over here. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and it's finding that quote unquote balance. Hey, Marina. And then it's like, you know, with the, you know, like getting lost in the signs and stuff like that, it is finding the balance, right? But the thing is that taking a reality break, and I'll talk personally about me and my story in that sense that, you know, like watching a Netflix binge, yes, it gives me that break. At the same time, there's always messages in it. There's always messages in it, right? And it's usually the answer to a big friggin' question that I, you know, think. And the things that I'm drawn to watch on Netflix or anything like that, I've learned more about history than I did in high school or primary school by watching Netflix series, right? I've just learned so much about history it's not like, oh, I'm going to learn about history. It's just like, oh, wow, this is interesting that happened. This is answering the question to those questions I've been asking, right? And this is where I always say, you know, like when you ask a question, even if it's like an intuitive pull to something or you're wondering about something, like don't disregard what you're being called to do. And I always said this in Trust Intuition, like you will be called intuitively from your soul to take this course or read this book or do this thing that seemingly has nothing to do with your life purpose, right? But when you trust where your soul is calling you to go, you will receive the answers, but you have to be open to trusting what your soul is calling you to do, even if it doesn't make logical sense. It doesn't make logical sense to me when I'm so busy to sit down and watch a Netflix series. But I trust and I follow through with what I'm being called to do. Now, in this kind of past several weeks, and I know you guys that have been following me, you've just like seen me kind of been breaking down a little bit and just going, like what's going on, right? And I've been shifting through a lot of stuff. If you've been watching my live streams and stuff, you know, right? I don't have to repeat that. At the same time, there's been this thing where I've noticed that every time something big surfaces for me, I want to run away. And I'm really starting to recognize that pattern, right? In a sense of not just recognizing it, but like, oh, I want to move house, or I want this, or, you know, I need to move, or I need to, you know, like this moving house thing has been really big for me. Now I'm going to share this part because it's got to do with the whole purpose of the Netflix binge, of the entire reason we're doing the Archangel frequency in the first place. And it's not like, oh, I'll do this, so this. This is like a series of events that I'm like putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, just going, oh my God, this is so much bigger than I thought. Now, I've been in this house for 7.5 years. I've tried to move house so many freaking times. Now, for those of you who don't know my backstory, just a little long story short, is that when I was 18, I left home in Perth, and all my mum's side of the family is still in Perth. Sisters, brother, all that, you know, and then so I moved over here when I was 18. I haven't been back. I've been back a couple of times for holidays to say hi, and that's it. Now, in the past 3 years of building online, like, family has kind of gotten further and further away just because of so many different reasons. And I'm just like, I just let me do my thing for a bit, and then I'll kind of deal with that, right? Now, more and more things have happened, and I'm just like, wow, is that how you really think about me? And blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I have wanted to move house, not know where I've wanted to move to. Now, this came really strongly on base chakra week. Like, you guys know, like I said, if you've been watching my live stream, and I'm like wanting to move, or I just want to like road trip and travel, and then I'm like, but I don't know where the fuck I want to go, but just get me the fuck out of here. Like, pretty much, yeah. And when like I do this, it's like this awareness of like, you know, it's so strong. It's like, yes, it's a soul calling. It's so strong. Like, is it? I don't know. What was coming up with for me was so big, yeah. And I shared on, I think it was base chakra week still, wasn't it? Like, or was it integration? I can't remember. But that deflection of me telling and voicing somebody, and then that truth not being heard, and then so me being shut down by that, so not speaking my truth, and then like from, you know, like my entire reality has been built from that moment in time when it shut down. So I kind of just like have been this other, haven't been my true self, let's put it that way, right? And so, you know, and through all this work that we do is like uncovering these layers. Like, there's always layers at every single level, no matter how developed you are on your path or how much work you've done, there is layers at every single level, yeah, every single level. And so when I've like looked at this space around like coming into, you know, like just even recently, like it's like, but where do I want to move to? Like, where is my home? And, you know, I was born in Broken Hill in New South Wales, out in the outback in the red dirt. And, you know, if I'm like, if there's anywhere I move to, it's there. But it's in the middle of the desert. I'm like, there's no beach there. You know, there's always this thing. And I'm like, yes, but, right? And it's this like soul call home. And amongst all of this in the past couple of weeks, like obviously I've gotten really clear, and I've been really called with Archangel Mary to activate Archangel frequency. And this Netflix series that I've been watching has only been the past week. Like, I've only started watching it in the past week, by the way. So amongst all of this, I know there's lots of different threads that I'm talking about here at the same time, right? Is that I came into this and I'm like, oh, you know, like, and I was like, right, I'm going to move to like New South Wales, and that, yep, that's good, gonna do that. And so then I did that, like rang this one place, and it was just like so, I guess, mean and nasty. Like, I was just like, well, I'm not fucking supposed to do that then, am I? And I just went through this other process, and I'm just like, you know what? Fine, I'll just stay here. Like, but I'm like, I was depressed. I was like, but where am I supposed to move to? Like, you know, and it's like, like this place has become so busy where I live, and going through all this stuff. So anyway, that's why I kind of spent most of the week at the beach. And I was like, fine, I'll go surfing, you know, and like was able to do a lot of work at the beach because I've created a life where I can live stream at the beach. I can do distance healings at the beach. I can talk to my clients at the beach in the sun doing what I love. Like, I'm like, well, Hannah, this is actually what you've created here. And the whole reason you've been doing it for in the first place. I'm starting to find my purpose again on a different level and a deeper sense of who I am and my why. Like, it's really interesting what's happened for me. And as I said in the past, like that whole shift around, like I'm doing it not to feel good enough now. Like that driver from originally being shut down when I voiced what was going on for me and I got shut down, it was like, oh, I'm not good enough. You know, all those things that I shared on the base chakra live stream, I'm pretty sure. So if you haven't seen that, that's where all that story is. You know, and so that is like, so I'm not good enough. Like all those beliefs running have then created this life that I'm trying to be good enough, right? And now shifting all that, like, and this is where my energy is shifted internally, where I feel good enough now, so well, what's the point of doing any of this work, and why I'm even doing this? And like, so many people doing the spiritual stuff, so why would I need to do it? Like, my job's done. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, huge, like, base chakra, total recalibration. Oh. Amongst all of this, I've been watching this Netflix series. And it's so interesting to me because, so I haven't finished watching it. So it's called Resurrection Ertugrul. I don't even know how to pronounce it, right? Resurrection Ertugrul. And basically it's set a couple of centuries ago, from my understanding. Correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. Like I said, I haven't watched the whole thing. This is basically, he saved like the Islamic Muslim culture. Like, you know, and for me personally, I've never been drawn, you know, like, I'm not a religious person. Like, of course I'm deeply spiritual or connected. Like, is that a religion? I don't know, right? Do you know what I mean? But I've never been into Christianity, Catholic, you know, like the Muslim. I've never, number one, explored it. I've never read the Bible. I've never, like, been around any of that stuff. I've just, everything that I've known, believed, heard, I've just heard from life, yeah? And the thing that I've been, I don't know, it's just, it has been interesting to me that I've been drawn to even watch this. And, like, with this, you know, like, he's, again, from my understanding, from the little bit that I've read, watched, is that he is saving the Muslim culture that nearly got wiped out centuries ago by the Templars. So is that Christianity? I don't know. Like, I think they're the same, but again, it's not my what's the word? It's not my forte or something, is knowing the depths of all the different religions, right? But I understand that there's always clashes between them. And so basically the Templars were trying to wipe out the Muslim culture, and they nearly did, right? But this guy obviously saved the culture. Now, the part that has, I guess, hooked me is, number one, I guess it's made me aware that I've always had a negative view about the Muslim culture. And I didn't even realize that I had a negative viewpoint about the Muslim culture. I, number one, know nothing about it, never been around it. It's like, and it's so interesting to me, what a wake-up call that we have these judgments about things that we don't even realize because of the societal influence about whatever, right? Now, what's interesting to me about that is, it's, number one, given me a different perspective, of course. Now, the thing that's hooked me about it is their devotion. And whether it's just because of the way that the show is being portrayed, I don't freaking know, right? But the thing that, the intuitive messages that I am getting from it, Muslims are not Christian, Templars are Christian. Yes, I thought it was the Templars and Christians are that. So the Templars, Christians tried to wipe out the Muslims. Like, that's the Islamic culture. And this is what this is about, right? And so, and, you know, it's like their devotion. Now, people would say, oh, but Christians are devoted and, you know, they go to church every week and stuff. And, like, they do. I'm sure they do. And I'm sure there's some devotees in every single society and religion and culture. Like, of course there is, right? I'm not denying that at all. But the thing that has hooked me is, you know, and this is where we set aside all the reasons why they created that TV show. And so I'm separating the reasons why they created the TV show and the TV show itself to my intuitive understanding and what I'm getting from watching this and how I'm sharing this, so that when you're drawn to watching something, you can separate the two parts and understand the gifts that your intuition and your soul are guiding you along your life purpose, okay? Because this is what it does. And this, what I'm sharing, is it in action to show you how, okay? So for me, what I, like, the thing that, like I said, is, number one, the devotion, and parts that I don't know how to pronounce any of these names, so I apologize for pronouncing wrong. So, like, their sheikh, I don't know how to pronounce that, like, is, like, quoting bits out of the Quran, like, you know, throughout the series so far. And, you know, long story short is, there was one scene where, you know, like, someone from the palace who was a traitor came and like killed a lot of people in their like their church, but it's not a church, so in their space, right? And they were like devastated, of course, and that, you know, they'd said to their sheikh, like they'd said, you know, like why did they do that so ruthlessly? Why did they kill all these, you know, like innocent people, basically, you know, like, and again, this is me just reciting it, it's not the exact word for word. And the sheikh turned around and had said, and this totally, I was just like, wow, like totally reality shift, you know, like as people were like, well, you know, killing all these innocent people and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, what the sheikh said that was quoted out of the Quran is that, so the innocent people and the persecutors, right? And they just ruthlessly go and kill these people sort of thing, right? And what the sheikh said is that this innocent person has died, has returned to God as, I guess, as an innocent, you know, like that person and that soul hasn't gone to God as a persecutor. But when that persecutor dies, then they have to face the persecution of the persecution in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like it was so interesting, and I was just like, wow, that makes like this takes all the judgment out of everything, and it pulls you back into your heart. And that's the thing where, like, recently I felt like I've lost my heart, you know, and I've been wanting to write a blog, or it's been kind of half streaming through me in a way, like, you know, like I was following my heart in my business and my life, and I feel like I lost it, and now I've found it again, is really how I feel. And I can feel something like birthing out of me, and the archangels, the activating an archangel frequency that we start on Monday is part of it. And this whole series and everything I'm sharing is another freaking huge part of it, right? So that was really amazing to have that. But then the other part of it is this Ertugrul, I don't know how to pronounce his name, the main character is basically the hero, but he's like not following the rules, but just literally doing everything because his heart and soul calls him into it with his purpose and his life. And it's kind of like the connection that he has and just everything that he's doing, like gone into some of the most dangerous places, and, you know, even been almost killed and caught many times, and, you know, but it's like all for God. Like it's like, you know, just this pull of his purpose. And I'm like, well, I can totally relate to that, you know, like just doing what you know you have to do, even like no matter the consequences, in a sense that when you've got a soul calling to do something, you can't not do it. And that, like, you know, level of devotion and commitment has been what has been really like strong, and the whole pulling back into my heart. Now, the other part of me losing my heart recently is that what has also come through is that, and I don't know, I think I might have tapped on this in the past couple of live streams, that I feel like I've had not a cage around my heart. I feel like I've lost my heart. I feel like it's been blackened. I feel like it's been shut down, and I feel like I don't know, like, but I could feel all this stuff around my heart, and I'm like, I don't want that. And whether it's resentment, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's brokenheartedness turned into resentment and anger and sludge, and I don't know, but at the same time, that's what it's felt like. And then on a little side note, all these Amazon fires, and I've noticed a fair few posts in my thing, like, I don't know, my awareness, like in my feeds, people talking about forgiveness and how they're like forgiving old past hurt and pain. And I'm like, well, this is how interesting. Because for me, the Amazon fires, everyone's like, the lungs of the earth have burnt. And I'm like, yeah, now everyone's dropped into all this peace and love and forgiveness. It's like the lungs of the earth had to be burnt open. You know, as I always say, it's not brokenhearted, it's broken open. Yeah. And it's like we had to like crack that open for us to reach, you know, everyone was angry and like rage coming up. And then all of a sudden we're like dropping into the depths, drop down through the layers of like the resentment and the anger, and then dropping down into the grief. And then we come back through and we're like, oh, I'm the one holding on to the grief and the pain. I'm the one holding on to the resentment. I'm the one holding on to that. And it's so interesting, like those parts in the series that I'm watching, it's like, you know, they're talking about, you know, this is all stuff we all know, like, do you know what I mean? But it's just like when we are drawn to something, it hits us on a different level. It's like something that our soul is calling, that we don't just know it, it clicks into gear. We feel it on an energetic space where we're really like tapping into like those soul, like, beingness. It's like we can know something for years and years and years, and then we'll shift something out of a deep, dark, deep, big trauma, and then it'll just like sink in. Like that knowingness has been there vibrationally for a while. Yeah, you know something, and then this thing that's not in alignment with that finally comes to the surface, and then this thing can take its place almost, right? That new level consciousness is now not a knowing, but an actual being, yeah? Now, it's interesting in amongst all of this of like, you know, losing my heart, finding my heart, understanding what I'm doing in my business again, like, you know, coming into a place of like, whoa, I've like made it sort of thing, yeah? I'm like, I can live stream at the beach, you know, and I think the biggest thing about the resentment and the heart and the lungs of the earth burning and everyone coming into that forgiveness, for me personally, you know, like years ago, 3 years ago, I did a post and I was laying on the beach, and I'm so grateful that I've created a job that I love, that I can work when I want to work, and I can sit on the beach on a Monday morning when everyone else has to go to work. Now, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but ultimately, that's the lifestyle I created. Now, from that post, I had one of my family members, one of my aunties, comment some really nasty stuff, like, you need to get a job, why are you like bludging around on Centrelink? And I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, look, and then I'm like, look at me today. But I didn't realize, and this is what's been unpacking for me in the past couple of weeks, is that all that stuff and all the judgments from the family and them not understanding me or even having support about what I'm doing, and not all of them not support me, but you know, the ones that say stuff, of course it hurts, right? And it's kind of like, I didn't realize that all of that had been shutting down my heart and shutting down my heart and shutting down my heart. And it's kind of like, I've just had to kind of keep going, right? But now I'm like, I didn't realize that I'd not just shut down my heart, but I've actually been holding on to resentment, hurt and resentment about those comments, about how they've said those things that have really broken my heart, right? And yes, I grieve and cry and deal with it at the time, but at the same time, I didn't realize there was parts of it that have been shut down. Now, what's interesting that in this show, in this Netflix show that I've been watching, it was speaking about, you know, again, another part of the Quran, like, you know, in all the different scenes, right? It's not all in one. You know, it's like talking about the persecutors, and, you know, he said something, I can't remember the exact words, but he's like, we're not going to turn into the persecutors by planting the seeds of, he didn't say anger, revenge, or hurt, but it was kind of along those lines. I can't remember now. We're not going to plant the seeds of that in our heart and become those people. And I was just like, whoa, hello, reality shift, right? Now, I'm just sharing that. Like, again, it's a personal story, but it's more around how you can pick out the parts that when you're drawn to watching whatever Netflix, whatever Foxtel, whatever it is that you're drawn to watch, even books too, by the way, books too, how that shifts you in your life and how that can be coming into like a drop into the heart space. Now, amongst all of this, as I said, I feel like I've lost my heart. I feel like I didn't know who I was or what I was doing anymore. I've come out of this, what seems like this cocoon of like, I don't know. And I'm like, wow, who's Hannah? And I think because of that shift around the deflection of when I've voiced my truth around the sexual abuse and it got shut down, since that moment, I've been living maybe a shadow life and not being my true self. And so now that had lifted, I was like, wow, well, who am I? You know, and so this who am I stuff, wanted to move house, but I'm like, I don't know where I want to move to. I don't know where I want to live in the world, because my family, like, you know, it's like all this stuff with family. I'm like, well, I love it here, but I don't, because I, you know, it's getting so busy, blah, blah, blah. The point is because within all this searching, right, and wanting and driving road trips, and I'm like, I don't know where I want to be, and like just, you know, breaking down, whatever shifted these past couple of days, it's so interesting because, as you guys know, a few months ago now, and I went to the liquid crystal talk, and I confirmed my soul crystal. I'm a lapis lazuli. Yeah, I'm lapis lazuli. So with the liquid crystals, apparently you have a soul crystal that you are bringing into, I don't know much about it. I haven't done the course. I've heard you've got a soul crystal. I'm like, what's mine? And anyway, I got it correct. First go, was grateful. Lapis lazuli. I am lapis lazuli. That was a couple of months ago. Now, watching this show on Netflix is that obviously it's based in like Iraq, Turkey, like all those lands. Now, another part of your life purpose awakening and finding out who you are and past life gifts and understanding what it is that you're even here for is that when you travel to somewhere in the world, or when you are called to travel somewhere in the world, those places, like even if you can't travel there physically and a country calls you for ages, right? It's like that land and the past lives that you have lived on that land are calling you to bring into awareness and awakening an avenue of energy and life purpose and skills and things that you have lived in that lifetime, right? That's what traveling is. That's whether it's astral traveling, whether it's energetically traveling, or whether it's physically traveling there. That's what walking those lines. Because if you think about the reality of it and how many lifetimes we've already lived on this planet, we've walked the entire earth before. Okay, so when we're like consciously drawn to somewhere, and this is where I haven't been drawn to any countries for a little while, and that's why I have been feeling lost too, because I've noticed that's always really strong for me. And then when I've gone, and watched this series, like when I thought about it, I'm like, Turkey and Iraq and stuff, like I love Dubai. Like I've never been there, but I love flying on Emirates, like I've always wanted to travel to Dubai. I love that, like, I don't know, that country has always called me, right? But then also like Turkey and Iraq, but watching this show, obviously Turkey and Iraq and all those like places, it's been really strong for me. And I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of making sense. Like, and just the gifts that I shared, I've already pulled out of that. I'll check the comments shortly. And it's like in this space around, like when I had my spiritual awakening, so Afghan, Iraq, Turkey, all those places, Emirates, all that right now, it's calling me. When I had my spiritual awakening in 2005, you guys know, long story short, I went next door to the lady because I knew she did readings, or her friend did readings or something, and the lady next door at the time gave me these deck of cards and she said, here, do it yourself. And I'm like, what the fuck are these? Went home, read the book, and I was like, oh my God, gave it back and bought my own. And that's where it all sort of began, right? Just before my awakening happened, my boyfriend at the time was working at this place on the coast here, and we'd always hang out. It was in hospitality, so at night time we'd always hang out in the, in the pub, and then, the place next door was the kebab shop. And at the time, many years ago, there was 2 men from Turkey who were running it, and we'd always sit in there and smoke the those things, I don't know what the proper name is for them, with the apple tobacco and stuff like that. And when I always remember like those men, they would be like, you'd love Turkey, go to Turkey, make sure you go to Turkey, we'd love you there, like all this sort of stuff. And I'll be like, also like, oh whatever, it's like Turkey never really called me. And then it'd come back into my awareness as well. And then the other part of it is that the lady who gave me these, her husband, they did a lot of traveling, like, and this is years ago before customs was a thing, right? So this is going back a while, and her husband did a lot of traveling. And anyway, over this time, around this time, she pulled out all this like crystals, and she had all this like a big bowl of lapis lazuli. And she's like, my husband bought this back from Afghanistan, so all these pieces, and she's like, here, have some. And so I gratefully took some, So these pieces of lapis lazuli I have had since my spiritual awakening, direct from Afghanistan in their raw natural state, right? And I've had them ever since. And then I'm like, oh, I'm lapis lazuli. Oh, how interesting. Oh, how interesting that I'm like trying to like, I'm remembering who I am, who am I don't know what I'm doing anymore, trying to find my home, need to move, don't know where I want to move to, don't know, like, do you know what I mean? Like trying to find my home, watch this, remember my heart, Turkey, Iraq, all of those places, the lapis, and I'm just like, okay. And then I'm like, and this was just the other night, I was like looking at it, and I'm like, because now I'm like, oh, Turkey's calling me, right? I'm like, okay, Turkey, maybe I want to travel to Turkey, right? And I always go through this when I'm reclaiming past life gifts. I'm like, I want to travel there, and I find out all about the place, and then I realize I'm like, oh, so I'm like, is this going to pass, or am I actually going to go to Turkey? Because I've never been drawn to go there. So anyway, I put in my phone, Turkey, into Google, and, just bringing up Turkey, and I scroll down the page, and down the page here, oh, is it here? Where is it? So, Oh my goodness, where is it? Maybe I need to, or did I refresh it? I scrolled down the page. Maybe it was on a different thing. Damn it, where is it? Of course it's not going to show me now, is it? Maybe it was images. No, it wasn't. Oh, because an actual turkey's come up. Oh, where is it? Let me just check on the other. Oh, okay. I don't know. Why isn't it here now? Maybe I'm going to have to check my screenshots because I sent this to it in a photo to somebody. I was like, oh my God, would you look at this? Look what I just discovered. I'm just going through my screenshots now. Okay. It is here. Oh, explore. I see. Oh, that's so weird. Anyway, so I typed it into Google. So last time I typed it into Google, it brought up, so this is, I don't know why it's come up differently. So anyway, so I typed it in, Turkey, and then, explore. And this is the screenshots because I scrolled down and it's like things to do, like the House of Virgin Mary. And I'm like, oh, like Archangel Mary, the Archangel, activate your Archangel frequency. Like all of this, I'm like, oh. Whoa, okay. Okay, guys, like, do you guys feel the depth of what I'm talking about here? Netflix binges, I don't know why I keep stumbling on that sentence. Netflix binges are gold in giving you information around what you're working through in your life. Now, you could apply that to anything, to a book, to a course, to some travel you're doing, or anything like that, right? Huge. Now, I don't know why that's not coming up when I've looked in that, but this is like in Turkey, and this is a screenshot. This is on Tuesday nights. This was only Tuesday night I discovered that bit, and I was like, oh, because whatever I was watching, whatever episode I was up to on Tuesday night, it just happened to be that. And then I like started Googling, and then I remembered all this lapis, and I'm like, lapis lazuli, like from Afghanistan, and I was like doing all this research around that, and I'm like, and then I'm like, Hannah, the name Hannah is Hebrew origin, and then I'm like Googling about that, and I'm just like, whoa, talk about finding your home. Talk about finding your home and your place of origin and your birth. And like, I remember years ago, like, go to festivals, and like people were like, are you like European? And I'm like, no, I'm like as Aussie as they come, mate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty amazing, right? So I'm just like, So, and then yesterday, went and saw my brother at the airport because he was flying from Perth to Canada. So if you're watching my story, that's what I was doing at the international airport at 5:30 in the morning. And he had a 4-hour stopover, so I just went down there and said hello to him. But then Adair and I went shopping, and we went, and just at the, I don't know, have you guys heard of Lush? I don't know if it's overseas, but Lush is like this beautiful shop of like lots of creams, and so this is like a rose like face mask, and I didn't really even notice, but then when I was in the shower or when I was putting it on or whatever, like yesterday, I was looking, I didn't really realize until I got home and read it, I was just drawn to it and it smelled good, and a day I was like, no, this one smells good, and so anyway, I got that one. So rosy cheeks, fresh face mask, bestow a bouquet of floral goodness upon your skin, Turkish rose oil and rose petal infusion soothe and balances faces that seek a softer touch, while rose clay and kaolin delicately cleanse to leave you feeling fresh as a bud. I'm like, okay, yeah, Turkish rose oil. I'm like, really? Is there anything else? Oh, so it's like so powerful, right? And I really just wanted to come on and share that. Yeah, I really just felt so called to come on and share that with the lapis lazuli, with the Turkish, like, from Turkey, Afghanistan, the whole, like, I've had this for years, I'm just like, wow, like, when you go on your spiritual development path and journey, like, I had my spiritual awakening in 2005, and I feel like around 2013, 2014, I had another spiritual awakening is what I felt like. I went through another layer of it, and just recently, I feel like I've just gone through another one. So that's what I mean, there's always layers, yeah? There is always layers. Oh, you're in Perth, Amanda. Yes. Okay. Slow down, Hannah, because we hear you. Thanks, Angela. Okay, Marina says, always feel like I'm back at home when I go back to Phillip Island. Okay, sorry, there's one more piece to this that I wanted to share. So yesterday when we got home from the airport, I was exhausted. Like, whether it was because we got up at 3 a.m. and I only went to bed at 11 p.m., I don't know. But Brisbane is an hour away from me, so yeah, it's a bit of a drive. So we got back home and I was like driving home and I said today, I'm like, I've got to sleep. I've just got to have a sleep for an hour when we get home. And anyway, and it was really hot yesterday, so like spring's kind of hit here, but yesterday was a really strong westerly wind, northwesterly I think it was, and it was really hot, like not hot, sweating hot, it was just nice, warm heat. And it was just so like, just being held or something. It was really nice. A lot of people, and even my client had mentioned it as well. And I got home and I took all my makeup off and like cleansed my face, and then I put the mask on and I watched some of my show and I took my mask off, and then I just was like, I just need to rest for a minute, and I closed my eyes. And it was so interesting because all of everything I just shared, but then I didn't even try to go into meditation. It just kind of happened, obviously, like it, you know, in that half wake, half sleep state is when you're most relaxed. And the breeze, the hot breeze like that yesterday reminded me of Broken Hill where I was born, like out on the station, and it was the same energy, like I could just feel it, and I was like, oh, I feel like home, because I've just wanted to travel there recently and I haven't gone there yet, obviously. And it's like a 3-day drive from here, right? So anyway, and so I was laying there, and that wind and the hot wind and just that heat and just the feeling of it, I was just instantly, I was out there. Right, and I'm laying on my bed, and then I realized I was there, and I was just like, and I took a breath, like, you know, but I was like feeling the dirt and walking around like the property where I was born, you know, and I was so conscious of it, and I was laying there and just like walking around, and I was like that, almost started crying because I'm like, I just want to be there, like my home. And it was so weird because I think because I'd felt lost in the world, or where's my home, or where am I supposed to be? You know, I get all the signs that Sunshine Coast is my home, but I don't feel home here, right? And it's so interesting when we're talking about soul home and base chakra and like that same reflection, yeah? And so I'm laying there and I was like almost crying because I'm like, oh, this is my home. But then I was shown 2 scenes, like, you know, literally, like if you guys have done any of my meditations, it's like, you know, you should get shown where your beliefs come from and how you can change your beliefs. You know, I take you through all these processes, and it was like that. But 2 scenes from obviously when I was actually in my mother's womb, and, you know, when she was, when I was young baby, like from there. And I'd never seen them before. I was never aware of them before. And it totally changed my longing for home there. And it's kind of interesting. We went through this process. It showed me 2 scenes that gave me a lot of answers to questions I'd never known where things stemmed from, blah, 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 right? And I was like, okay. And I was like, wasn't an intentional meditation. And I was like, what else do you want to show me? Because I seen those 2 scenes. And then I saw another scene where it was like obviously my parents lived on the property, but it wasn't technically theirs. Like, yes, they lived there, they looked after it, but it was my grandparents. And, you know, so it wasn't like they owned it, or even they had a loan, or maybe they did, I don't know, but from my understanding. And so like there was kind of like this, it was home, but it was also unsettled home because it wasn't really home too. Like it was full on deep kind of like real, like, where's your home base? Like we're talking about origin home stuff here, like on this live stream, right? And finding your home and finding your base and finding who you are and your purpose. And it's like this deep sense of origin home. But I'm like, where do I belong? Where do I want to be? And I always come back to that place, especially in the past kind of 12, 18 months, right? And with seeing those scenes in my half sleep state yesterday, it totally changed me. Like I came out of that space just changed. The longing for home, for there wasn't there anymore, because it wasn't ever really home either. Like, do you know what I mean? And it kind of made me a little bit more lost, but at the same time, what it did was pull me back into here now, where I am now, that this is my home, the longing for home is here. Like, you know, instead of being scattered in all these places or thinking we should be somewhere else than other than where we are, you know, and if you're in that space, I encourage you to trace back your origins and trace back, you know, because that was like womb stuff. That was when I was in my mother's womb that I saw those scenes that implemented belief systems that, you know, totally like, you know, and then that whole like, that it wasn't even our home anyway. And of course my heart still like loves the place, but the longing to go there because that's where I felt like I belonged isn't there anymore, right? And that whole sense of belonging is always really big for light workers. It's like, where do we belong, or we don't fit in, or we don't, like, all of that. And there's such a strong correlation between that and the reflection in our reality and our soul that embodies into our physical body as well. And when we've got trauma in our base chakra, which is our physical reality, which is our home, which is our safety, our security, our finances, our trust, our purpose, right? Our sensuality, our sexuality, like it is the life force that burns the fire of passion through the rest of our chakras and gives life to our life, right? Like it's also the anchor point of where our soul gets grounded into our body, our sacral and our base, right? So that longing for home feels like I love the place, but the longing to go there and the definite shift that when I came out of that, it was like that longing for where do I belong, that longing for home, or maybe I fit in here, or maybe I need to move there, or maybe I need to, you know, travel here or travel there. That desire had even gone because that sense of home or feeling like I belong somewhere, maybe it is that my soul has clicked into place into my body. I don't know, but that's what it feels like. It's like, don't need that outside, oh, this is where I feel good, this is where I feel at home, oh, this is where I need to be, oh, this is, no, there's none of that. It's just like wherever I am is home. You know, they always say like home is where the heart is, or home is where you feel best in your body, or, you know, like that sort of thing. I'm like, oh, now I really feel it. And it's so interesting. It started this live stream. I'm like, you know, there's a shift from when we know something spiritually, or we have an awakening and a realization, but we're not living it and embodying it. And now I'm like that was really huge for me yesterday, like being so tired and just needing to go and do that. And I have put my rose oil, like on like my Turkish rose oil clay mask on just to like ground down some more of my home, you know. And then, and the other thing I just want to say is that talking about home origins, finding your soul home origin, this is going to sound a little bit, I don't know if judgmental is the right word, because maybe this is just my journey, but my feeling on earth is that we all originally came from Lumeria, and then we all kind of went to Atlantis, and then from Atlantis we dispersed into the earth. Now maybe I am incorrect, because who really knows, right? But that has always been a thing in my awareness. And what you know, like what came to mind with everything I've shared on this live stream about Afghanistan and Turkey and, you know, all those places is that like Turkey and all that, like, you know, now with all these realizations, that does feel like a soul home for me. And it makes me wonder, and the thing that's been dropping in is like, you know, because if from Atlantis and Atlantis fell and then we all dispersed into the earth, I feel like from that Atlantis, we all dispersed into the earth, and our first home that our souls had from Atlantis is a big point of origin, soul reclaiming space. Now, of course, every lifetime that you've gone through, many past lives around the world are all important, but I feel like that first initial one is really important. I know people who, Africa, for me, I've kind of questioned it because I do so much work with clients and I'm like, oh, I wonder what mine is, like, you know, and it's like, and then I've been questioning it and this has been coming through, and it's not like oh, this feels right, this makes sense with everything I've shared on this live stream. For me personally, I'm like, this feels like from Atlantis, I went to Turkey. So it's so interesting that if, you know, like, and you know how I said originally, I'm like, I've had all these pulls to travel all these places all around the world, but it's never happened. But then I was like, oh, I'm pulling in the past life. And so I just reclaim all the past life gifts and blah, blah, blah. And then that pull for that country goes away. And I was like, oh, I wonder if this is the same for Turkey and, you know, and Iraq and all of that. You know, some people would say don't travel to those places. And I'm like, I'm safe, like, you know. But anyway, whether I end up traveling there or not is beside the point. The point is that I've been questioning. I'm like, I wonder if I'm actually going to travel there, or whether this is just this phase of like reclaiming this soul origin home. So I really felt called to share this on live stream. Just the fact that, you know, especially when talking about purpose, like there's no differentiation between, you know, what I'm learning through here and history and making sense of everything. And like I said, if you guys have followed me for a while, that November, December, January was huge for me. I went through, like, I guess another death, rebirth, whatever you want to call it, Grim Reaper, Witch, the whole thing. And if you guys followed me back then, you'll remember that I watched The Last Kingdom, and The Last Kingdom threw me into this thing around reclaiming, like, the thing. And the one thing that I can't remember, is it King Edward or something, had said in one of his scenes that just, I was like, that's why I watched this, like, you know what I mean? Like, of course there was many other things that got out of it, but again, I googled about him, you know. I was just like, wow, because he's like, he said in one of the scenes, I can't die yet. Like, my vision of a whole England, right? Because back then it was still in all the different parts, it wasn't all England. You know, he's like, that hasn't come true yet, I can't die yet. And so, and as soon as I heard that line, I googled it, and his vision as a leader, as a king, for the reason he was doing everything, that soul calling thing as a leader, the reason, you know, like, that was 3 centuries after he died. Like, in reality, 3 centuries that whole vision that he had around a whole England came to life. Now, at the time, for me, that helped take the pressure off me that I have to change the world this lifetime. And then it, like, gave me that sense of, like, oh, okay, it's okay. Like, you know, it's happening, Hannah, but it might not happen in your lifetime. But what you're doing is planting the seeds for that to happen, you know, for our new earth to come back together, or whatever it is, right? So never disregard what your soul is calling forth for you to watch, travel to, books to read, that sort of thing, because it's all related to your life purpose. And if you can understand and pick apart the depths of the relations between your soul origin homes, between what you're going through in your current life and how that supports you or not supports you, you know, like, really, really, like, it's gold. Yeah, it is gold, and the universe is always guiding you, and your soul is always telling you the messages. You just have to catch them. Yeah. This is where trusting your intuition over what anyone else says to you is so important, right? Okay, let me look at these comments. Thanks for listening, guys. I just really had to share that. So Marina says, always I feel like I'm back home when I go back to Phillip Island. Yes, really understand, as I spent many wonderful memories there. The island is my comfort and where my dad's resting place is, so it holds much value to me. Yes, yeah, these places are so important, right? Thanks for sharing that, Kelly. I knew it was like Muslims are not Christian. Yeah, I realized that, but I didn't know if the Templars are Christian. So they are. And that's what it was. The Templars were wiping out the Muslims, and I was like, I didn't even know. And like, if you look at the culture today, like, because this Netflix is based on a true story. Like, it says that it's based on a true story. So that makes, like, I'm just like, wow. And I love watching this stuff. Like I said, I learned more about history watching Netflix than I did in school. Learn about history. So your heart tells you when you're home, it's an undescribable feeling. Yeah, it's a reconnection of the soul, of the longing of what you're calling forth to reconnect, come back to wholeness, 100%. So Marina says, oh my gosh, I would love to do what you do, especially working and being at the beach, wherever you can. Yes, I look up to you in awe. You're an inspiration of dream, which takes so much courage to get in. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's never easy, you know. If we look at these leaders, like, and that's the thing where I watch these shows and I'm just like, look at what they go through, and I'm like, well, look at what I go through, you know. It's like, it is, and most people don't do it because of whatever, but when you've got that call, you know, like that longing and that call. Amanda says, yes, I said to my hubby the other week, let's seriously look into moving and working in Dubai. Yeah, it's amazing. Goosebumps. A hooker. Thank you. Thank you. I knew there was a name for those things. The Turkish smoking things. I'm sure they're in other countries too. How many more signs do you need? Yeah. And again, it's not that I've been looking for signs specifically. It's not like I need a sign. It's just like I've been like, where's my heart gone? What's going on? Like, you know, and it's like shifting in, and like it's pretty much what I said on the live stream the other day, you know, like when we're birthing, about to break through that cocoon, it's like, what's happening? Where's my heart? Where's it? You know, and it's like, oh, here's my heart. Right? Hey Laura, hey Hannah, you may find your new love there. Do you know, it's so interesting, Laura, because another part of this that I haven't mentioned, and I'm nervous to mention, but I'm going to mention it, Sina, so you brought it up, because I was actually laying in bed thinking about it all these past 3 nights. I feel like I've just been in this like thing, because it's been the Turkish oil face mask, and then it's been the mother Archangel Mary is like from Israel, and I'm like, how did I not make that connection before? Like, of course she is, but all of this, I'm like, oh, right? It's so huge. And that's why I feel like this Archangel frequency, activate Archangel frequency, which we start on Monday, guys, and you can still join if you're a day or 2 late. Like, it's there. Like, come for this frequency, because oh my god, like, you want to talk about alignment, like alignment to the light frequency, like huge. So what's going on, me? What's going on? So yeah, it's just like in this space around like that. Like, so the other part that I haven't shared around that is that, you know, like, especially, you know, you guys always hear me talk about my 5-year relationship that taught me so much, taught me how to love, taught me all of that, that when the thing that kept pulling me away from it is, one, I knew I wasn't listening to my intuition in the start, and all the shit that happened, if I listened to my intuition, it wouldn't have happened. At the same time, if I listened to my intuition back then, like I didn't, then I wouldn't have learned what I've learned. I wouldn't have come into the strengths that I have now today. So everything happens for a reason. When people go, oh, I didn't listen again to my intuition, I'm like, yeah, don't beat yourself up for that, because this is part of the learning process of getting stronger, of the muscle that makes you listen to your intuition, not just listen to it, but act on it, right? It is part of the process of awakening. Now, when you say, you know, you may find your new love there, like, back then when I was kept leaving the relationship because I knew it wasn't right, and I'd have these visions of this man, like I've seen him so many times, and I, you know, like a couple of years ago, I also met a man here who looked very similar, and I'm like, oh, this is him, and it fell to shit, and like all this, and he was still hooked up with his ex, and I didn't know, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm like, you know, went through this period, I'm like, fuck my visions, like, it's not true, like, how can I trust you, like, all this stuff, right? Like, oh my god. Talk about trusting intuition and trusting your visions, like, how do you tell those apart? How do you tell what's ego? How do you tell that? Whoa. Yeah, it's a practice. It is a practice. Now, this vision of this man that I've had, like, after that experience where I thought I found him and then, like, almost left the planet because I'm like, what was that vision? That's not true then, and everything. Like, I let go of it. And I also let go of trusting my visions, in a sense. I let go of holding on to things I see intuitively, right? Especially when especially big, like, want to write down points about my live streams, guys. This is one you want to write down. When you are wanting to trust your intuition, trust your visions, and you're asking about, who is the man I'm supposed to be with? Who is the relationship I'm supposed to be in a partnership with? And then you have a vision about something, and then you're like, oh my god, this is him, and then you chase him and all this shit fucking falls apart, and you're like, this doesn't work, and I give up. Right? Oh my god. Especially when you're asking about something for selfish reasons, right? When you attach to what you think it is, that's when you ignore the flags. That's when you ignore your intuition about actually no, because it's almost like you have a vision about something and then you'll be tested. You'll be tested. It's kind of like this, and it might be like 90% correct, but it's not 100% correct, and you're like, oh, but it's 90%, so I'm just going to run with this. And you know how I talk about that being 1% off path, you know, on a compass point. You know, if a boat is traveling across the ocean and the compass is 1% 1% off, like 1 degree off, the boat will end up there instead of that country, right? It's a real deal. And the thing we're talking about alignment of your life purpose is trusting 100% that even if it's 90%, it needs to be 100%. Like, and the trust comes in trusting this, not the, oh, well, it's 90%, that'll do, right? It's a big one. Now, the point of me sharing that, oh yeah, so this is a roundabout way of me sharing this because I'm nervous to share it. So, I have the past life meditation, I have the right now meditation, and I have the future life meditation. Now, you can only find the future life and the right now in the Activate Your Higher Senses. No, it's in the Awaken Your Psychic Senses, my course. There's past life, right now, and future life. And basically, like, I'd done the future life, and it's so interesting because I'd asked, and I remember I've done this so many times, and like, especially when back a few years ago when I was in and out of that relationship, and I'd be like, well, what and who am I supposed to be with and what am I supposed to be doing? Like, do you know how many times I've asked that question? And I have the same vision of like me living my life with this particular man. And I'm like, well, and for years I did shut it down after all that stuff happened. And then like recently it's been back in my awareness. And then now all this stuff has happened and that has come back into my awareness again. Because I'm like, when I look at him, he is of European. Like he is what would be looking like European. Now, people have always said that I look European and I'm not. So maybe he's not, but he looks like that, right? So it's so interesting, Laura, that you have kind of said that. And I'm just like, well, maybe this is it. And that's why there was a part of me, I noticed it. I was like, all right, got to go to Turkey because maybe my man's there when I realized all that. And I was just like, no, you're not going to go looking for him there. But at the same time, I'm like, I feel like I'm almost ready for that, stabilizing my business, coming into myself. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, maybe. How does he look? Well, he looks like a European man would look, if that's how it makes sense. I don't know. I'm very clear about, what I would imagine a European man look like. So Tamsin says, just joined. I'm feeling a longing for home at the moment, but totally at home at the moment, if that makes sense. Yes. Feeling totally all over, but okay at the same time. Yes, that expansion, contraction, that contradiction space in it, right? Okay, so Sian says, I was just woken up out of sleep with shock 3 a.m. Wales time, switched on and here you are. I've been wanting to watch you live and you needed this. Yay, perfect for you, Sian. Tamsin says, I miss you and your videos. I've not watched from the solar plexus on. I'm feeling it and need to catch up. Yep, the sacral base, interesting where we stop, on the chakras, right? What was the next fix of it? The Netflix, I missed the beginning. Yeah, so it's called Resurrection Ertugrul. I don't know how to pronounce his name. They pronounce it so well in the show. It's making me want to learn. I've never felt drawn to learn another language, and now I want to learn Arabic. And it's so interesting because the whole time, when I first started online, and that's when a day I started flying over to New Zealand, you guys would have seen it, depending on how long you've been following me, and I'd always fly over to New Zealand and fly her over and back in one day, drop her off. And yes, she could have gone by herself, but she didn't want to, and so I'd do that for her. And anyway, the point is that Emirates just happened to always be the cheapest flight on Webjet, and I'm like, wow, we'll just fly Emirates. I freaking loved it because I loved Emirates. And when we'd fly back, so I'd get the flight back on Emirates from Auckland to Brisbane, and at that time, they've changed the flights now, but at that time it was Auckland, Brisbane, Dubai. And I'm like, I don't want to get off in Brisbane, I want to keep going to Dubai. So it's just interesting, all of this. And I'm like, and I have always wanted to go to Dubai. I just have been drawn to that, and now all this, I'm like, wow. And just the fact that, and even, when I was, 18, 19 and hanging out at the pub and, with those men that ran the kebab restaurant, was a Turkish restaurant, those, are they Turkmen, is that how you call them? They were so kind, they've got a different heart, it feels like, do you know what I mean? And maybe that's just a heart resonating with my heart or something, I don't know. Anyway, okay, so how does he look? Just like a European man. Do a DNA test kit. Isn't that interesting? I've got Scottish bloodline all the way back on my dad's side through that, but I don't know what's all the way back on the other. I have to check that. Go for it. Yes, thanks Penny, love it. Yeah, I felt called to share about it. So yeah, if you're feeling like you know, soul longing, soul home, you know, and you guys are, you know, depending on how long you watched me for and followed me for and continue to follow me, you know, like I go through these phases where I do, like even Limitless a little while ago, Vikings was really strong. I love Game of Thrones, and now that's finished and it feels like the end of an era, and now this is awakening, like the soul home origin stuff's big. Yeah, big awesome connection time. So from all of this is like Archangel Mary and the energy and land of the place and everything from that, huge. Like so much connection and the vibration and the frequency that's already streaming through Activate Archangel Frequency. I've seen there's a few of you on here now that are in there as well. Like it is going to be something phenomenal, can already feel it. And we start on Monday, but like I said, if you're a day or two late, you just catch up. But we'll be in there starting from Monday. So the link is pinned to the top in the comments here. Otherwise you'll see it on my page. You can send me a message if you've got any questions about it. If you guys think that this can help somebody, please tag them in the comments or send it in a private message to them. Share it on your page, share it around. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. If you've got any questions at all, always email me or send me a message on Facebook. I love you guys heaps. Thanks for joining me live. Have a beautiful weekend. Okay, Sian says put something else in. Let's have a look here. I've been feeling lost but at home. Yes, lonely but fulfilled. Yes, this contradictory expansion stuff is like really strong, right? So I remember I said the other day on the live stream that the bandwidth is getting wider. Like if we talk about expansion and say we're traveling through the universe and we're expanding, like so everything will be expanding. So we're like feeling lost but we're feeling really at home because that expansion is happening. So it's in our awareness. Do you know what I mean? Like that's my sense about it because a lot of us are feeling that. So really needed to see you. I watched the replay, catch up, but loving what I've seen. Yes! Oh, Shan. Okay, sorry. Shan, not Sian. Okay, got it. Shan. Thank you for the pronunciation. All right, love you guys heaps.